is Suit Up Sports. Suit Up Sports. Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with 10-year NFL vet Frank Garcia. Frank, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to another great week of sports and football and the playoffs. And, just right around the corner, we got the national championship. So looking forward to another great weekend in sports.
Yeah, man. We last week was hard to beat with college playoffs on Thursday and Friday. Then you had the Panthers on Saturday, NFL playoffs Saturday and Sunday. And then this week, they give us a little break on Thursday and Friday, but this weekend we're back to it. And like you said, Monday night, the big national championship with Indiana and Miami in Miami. We'll get to that and talk a lot more about that on Monday. But today, obviously, we're going to talk about the playoff games in the NFL this weekend. I wanted to start with the Panthers, though. We talked a lot about those guys on Monday and about the game against the Rams, as well as kind of, what we're looking towards or forward to with the offseason. And Dan Morgan has done some interviews. I know he was on WFNZ, which we both listened to, and had a great interview there. And then the press conference he held at the stadium. And I got to tell you, when they made Dan Morgan the general manager, I think a lot of us were kind of like, oh, he was Fitterer's assistant. Fitterer was awful. Is he going to be the same guy as him? He comes from Seattle, as did Fitterer. We love Dan Morgan because he was one of the best defensive players we've seen on the Panthers in their history, but there was a lot of questions to be asked, right? And the first year, the draft, if you look at it now, looks like it really didn't go that well. I mean, Leggett traded up in the first round and he hasn't done anything. There really hasn't been anybody in that first year that's turned out. Then last year, but he did address the offensive line his first year and fixed it through free agency, which was great. Last year, he fixed the defensive line through free agency and the defense and made it at least a lot better than it was year before, which, it's not saying a whole lot, but he did. And the draft last year, at least as of right now, looks like he hit some home runs in that draft. And to hear him come out and say, like today on FNZ, that, our pass rush was embarrassing. Like, to hear a general manager say that was refreshing. When I hear him talk, and he was consistent on all the interviews, but the FNZ, when I thought, he they did a good job of asking him the questions that fans want to hear, that he isn't running from it. And the other thing he didn't run from is he came out right away. Because if you remember when he took over, he said, look, we got a long way to go and we have to build this thing brick by brick. That was the exact quote. And now he came out and he goes, next year we expect to win.
It was interesting.
We're there. It's time to win.
It's interesting, to hear from his perspective, what I think us as fans want a general manager to say, and let's be honest and address the elephant in the room and know that he sees the same things we see, and he's going to go out there, and I'm sure he knows a lot more than we do about this team. Sure. What's ironic is that a couple of days ago, and maybe it was the emotions after the season, after the game, when one of the beat reporters for the Panthers was questioning one of the rookie defensive ends. Princely,
Umanilin.
Umanilin.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And I'm not going to try to, pretend I can speak Swahili and say his last name, but Princely is what I'll call him. He was very, I guess, kind of roundabout way saying, listen, it's not us, the players. And the question was asked about the soft defense being played and looking to see maybe, get something on Evero and why, the scheme was being used that way. And he goes, well, it wasn't the scheme. Or it goes, it wasn't the players.
Right.
So, basically he was, crapping on, the coaching.
Yeah. Saying that they weren't putting him in position,
to be successful. And what's crazy is when you see rookies like that go out there and talk, you want to kind of, give them the benefit of the doubt and say, well, he's just a rookie, really doesn't know what he's saying. But, he said a lot without saying a whole lot, if that makes any sense.
Well, and you and I talked about this a little bit before the show. I don't mind a player, saying something like that usually. But when you're a rookie defensive end that had 13 tackles on the season and 1.5 sacks, shut up.
Right.
Like, shut up. Like, there's a reason. I mean, Nick Scorton was a rookie defensive end. He played quite a bit. He had 5.5 sacks. He made game-changing plays. And like you said, the last 4 or 5 games of the season really started to figure it out. And I'm not hearing him talk,
right.
So shut up.
Well, you're the equivalent. I mean, when you see players come out there and start blaming coaching, and I remember them saying that Dante Jackson saying the same thing, playing cover 0 against Atlanta when they beat them for a 98-yard touchdown. And they were being aggressive and trying to run a blitz. He called out the coaching staff, and I feel the same way. He's like, those are things that you don't do. I don't think Dan Morgan was calling out players. I don't think he was saying those things. I think he was calling out, systems and problems that we have within our team that we need to address. He wasn't saying this guy's terrible, we need to get him out of there. He was saying, yeah, we need to address a lot of the weaknesses that we have in pass rush is one of them.
Yep.
If you happen to be a pass rusher, yeah, you're going to be thrown in that group. If you're giving up a bunch of sacks, even though you might not have given up one as an offensive lineman, you're going to be pushed into that group. So it goes both ways. That being said, is that, the equivalent of what Princely is saying is he's complaining about not getting the reps, but when he gets the reps, he's not having the productivity. It would be no different than Leggett saying, hey, they're not throwing me the ball.
Right.
There's a reason why they're not throwing you the balls, because every time they do, you're out of bounds, you drop it, you run the wrong route.
Yep.
You can't be trusted. So you're not going to get the reps unless you earn that. And I think that's been the biggest problem with some of these young players coming in that are having to earn their spot. There's nowhere to transfer, dude.
Yeah,
there's no your
portal.
coach is calling you out, and there's nowhere to transfer. There's no portal. You're either going to be on this team or you're going to get cut.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the other rookies from this draft class, which looks to be a really good draft class. Scorton had a hell of a rookie year, right? Princey was the 3rd round pick. Showed a couple flashes here and there, but not much. You
get certain amount of times as players, DJ, to shine. Right. And if you're a 1st round player, you're going to get more of those opportunities. When you're Leggett and you're drafted in the 1st round and you're having a tough time, figuring out what the system is, what the routes are, you're going to get a lot more opportunities than if you're a 6th rounder or a 7th rounder. Right. Those opportunities for those guys are going to come few and far between. You get a chance to shine. And if you don't take a chance of your opportunity, then you're going to be kicked to the wayside and they're going to bring somebody else in. I mean, it's like M&S, the song, you only get one chance.
Yeah.
Here's your opportunity.
Well, and here's the thing too, the other rookies, like I was saying, Scorton's had a hell of a rookie year. Etienne showed flashes, but the one thing about Etienne, he had a fumble and he almost fumbled another one against the Rams. After the game, somebody brought up the wind. He goes, look, the wind was swirling around, but there's no excuse. I got to catch it. So he took accountability for his mistakes and he showed some flashes. Look at Ransom. Ransom had the big 15-yard penalty against the Saints that moved their field goal a lot closer, but the following game had the big interception to seal the game. So these other rookies, Cam Jackson, who was hurt quite a bit, but when he did play, he made a difference a lot of times. So shut up. Like, by the way, I don't necessarily disagree. Like I said, I don't disagree that we could have been more aggressive. I mean, what are we going to do? It's like, what is it? Die by a one cut or 1,000 cuts? Like, okay, we played prevent. And they methodically went down the field. We knew that the middle.
But if you look at when they played prevent, they still were trying to bring pressure. The problem is that when they're bringing pressure, the area that they were vacating was so big because of the soft coverage within the secondary. Right, they needed to be tighter in those spaces to not just allow pitch and catch to go right down the field. Every time you blitz, I'm going to throw it right there, and the guy's going to be wide open with 10 yards to run.
Yeah,
it's tough to defend. So. It just didn't match the alignment of the defense didn't match the scheme in which they were running.
And our corners, as we know, we have 2 of the best corners in the league right now. And again, 294 yards of Stafford's passing came in the middle.
Yep.
So knowing that, I don't disagree that maybe there's something, but you and I talked about it and you kind of broke down the scheme. And honestly, and this is why when people crap all over Evero, I have his back some, is that you can only do so much if you don't have the players. And so if Dan Morgan does bring in 2 new linebackers and he does bring in a defensive end and we get a pass rush next year, this defense has a chance to be really good and will allow Evero to do things that he wasn't able to do this year and he wasn't able to do last year. When he was in Denver and he had a hell of a defense, he was top 5 every year, but he had players. So let's see what Dan does this year, because you always say coaches can call a play.
I'll say this about, you're 100% right. I'll say this about coaches, right? And coaches their number one responsibility is to put you in a position to be successful. If I'm a coach, that's my job, right? Give you a chance to be successful and, and understanding what you're trying to execute, right? But it's your job to execute the system, the plan, right? I can't make tackles for you as a coach.
Right.
Right. I can put you in position and you have a wide open tackle, you're unblocked and you miss the tackle. I don't know what else to do as the coach except for say, hey, listen, you're in a good position. You're in a great position that you're going to make the play.
Make the play.
You got to make the play.
Can't make Jimmy Horn Jr. catch that ball.
I mean, it's a
down.
Great route. He's coming out the other side. If he catches that ball, it hits him right, basically in the waist, and he drops the ball. Right. Bryce Young can't throw any better, or he could, and maybe he puts it in front, but I mean, it was a catchable
hit him
ball.
in both hands. Yeah, he should have caught it.
Coaches ain't going to call a better play. I mean, you're wide open you just drop the ball. Right. And those are the types of things that players have to execute. And right now we just don't have enough good players. And I honestly don't believe in some of those cases, and maybe not in this game in particular, but throughout the season, we were in position to be successful. And I blame a lot of that on the head coach. And we've talked about the inconsistencies with Canales and learning from his mistakes and, playing chess instead of checkers. This is his first playoff game too as the head coach. So, Evero's been there before. He's been in those positions with Denver. I don't why they didn't call timeout. And those are the things.
Defense when they were
to address the defense. Hey, listen, guys, here we are. We got a couple minutes to go. They're driving. Let's calm down. Let's play our positions properly. Let's close down our spacing a little bit, because right now our we're not aligned with what they're doing. They're just pitching and catching down the field. So let's change this up a little bit. Let's get a little tighter in our coverages and, make some plays.
Here's what I took away from what Dan said and some of the other stuff that, the interviews that we've seen with Canales and some of the players after the loss last week. I feel and you always kill me for being Mr. Positive with the Panthers. And I always think I'm pretty objective, but I will say this. I feel really good about where this team is. I feel really good about Dan addressing the issues we have, particularly on defense this offseason. We've got a lot of draft capital. We've got the most salary cap room in the NFC South, and that's without cutting or restructuring contracts, so we can get a lot more money. There are some free agents at the positions we need, in particular defensive end and linebacker, that are out there. Nakobe, Dean from Philadelphia at linebacker, Hendrickson at defensive end. There are some guys out there that would be perfect fits on this defense that they can go get. And then obviously the draft. And I really, and Canales having another year under his belt, because, I do feel that he does learn from his mistakes. I always feel that maybe it's a little too late and we have to wait till the next game to see the results. But I thought he called a pretty damn good game against the Rams in the playoffs. And so I feel really good about where they are, and I feel really good about the team that we'll put on the field next year. But then I look at the schedule and I don't remember. And look, there's always teams that you think are going to be really good that aren't. Kansas City this year, Baltimore this year. So you never know. But on paper, when you look at our schedule next year,
those teams don't confuse what you're saying with the losses to the fact that those teams aren't still pretty good.
No doubt.
Right? I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes.
No question.
And as long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you have a chance. The Baltimore Ravens, regardless of their coaching situation, they still have Lamar Jackson.
Damn right.
They still have Derrick Henry. They still have a damn good team, right? They didn't equate to wins this year, but don't confuse that with them not being a good team.
Right. And when you look at the schedule next year, I really don't ever remember seeing a schedule. And we got the first place schedule for winning the division. But listen to this schedule. So at home next year, we have the Bears, who are playing Saturday. We have Detroit. We have Baltimore. We have Cincinnati. We have Denver. And we have Seattle.
And this is a Cincinnati team that it has
Oh, they're gonna score.
That has their quarterback back that didn't miss 7 games with Joe Burrow on the sideline and didn't win any of those games without Joe Burrow. This is the Cincinnati team with Joe Burrow.
Right. I mean, 3 of those teams are playing this weekend. Then you go to the
show those teams again. You got the Bears.
We got the Bears, the Lions, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Denver, and Seattle. That's at home.
Seattle
and Denver.
So just
and I'm not talking about the division games. I'm talking about
and when you talk about those teams, DJ, every team is going to make changes in the offseason. I continuously say this. I think sometimes us as fans forget that we aren't the only team that feels like, hey, we got so much better. We have draft capital. We have the opportunity to get really good in the draft.
Yep.
We have the opportunity to go get free agents. We have the opportunity to improve our team so much. Guess what? So does every one of those teams that you just mentioned, right? What's the consistent? What's the constant? What's the standard of these teams, right?
Yep.
You have the Bears. Who's their quarterback?
Yeah, Caleb.
Is he going to get better?
I mean, you would think he's doing it right now in front of us.
He's still playing. He's still playing. Detroit.
Injuries really hurt them this year.
Are they going to score? Their quarterback's pretty good, right?
Yep.
The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, he's playing against Bryce Young, right? I mean, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, Bryce Young, right? That's our constant.
Yeah,
that's our constant. Is Bryce Young going to be able to beat any of those players?
Well,
because that's the constant that you're going to have.
But the one thing that I would say about that is this: I think Bryce Young isn't the top of the totem pole when it comes to, are we going to beat these teams? First of all, we have to have a hell of a defense. So if Dan Morgan fixes those holes and we have a hell of a defense, then I think Bryce has shown that if we're in a game, he can step up and win a game.
But all these teams are going to get better too.
I'm not arguing that. And listen,
so there's only going to be one.
But Bryce has improved every year.
The most impactful, and I don't disagree with what you just said, right? He still had some inconsistencies, but is he going to improve enough so that we are a home field advantage against any of these teams, or have our favorite against any of these teams? Because literally, when you look at teams, unless you have the most dominant defense out there, like the Ravens did with Ray Lewis, or the Denver Broncos did, with Von Miller, or the Bears did in the '85 with their vaunted defense, the Steeler curtain. If you're not one of those defenses, who is it always going to be coming down to?
Yeah.
It comes down to the quarterback, whether you want to think so or not, DJ, because everything else has the ability to get better at the same rate. Unless you find a diamond in the rough, like Coker. Coker's a good example, right? Pakua. He's a 5th round draft choice.
Yep.
He is a big reason of why the Rams have catapulted into one of the best offenses in the league, because Puka Nacua has really showed up as a 5th round pick. Unless we find a Steve Smith in the draft, unless we get lucky, unless we find somebody that we don't expect to be one of these dynamic star players, we're still going to have to rely on Bryce Young to be our quarterback against these guys.
But if you look at Bryce this year in particular, but I can go back to last year as well, he's played really good against those quarterbacks. I mean, he beat Matt Stafford once this year. He had him beat with 2 minutes left in this game, and our defense couldn't hold it. Last year he had Philadelphia and Kansas City beat and got screwed by the refs. So
you can't say he got screwed by the refs. Well, Patrick Mahomes beat him.
Okay, but what I would argue with that is in all the
at home.
Kansas City was there.
At home.
If you look at the games that I just mentioned, the biggest reason we lost those games, though, were not Bryce. It was our defense couldn't stop anybody.
You're right.
So if we get a defense that now can elevate, let's say, to a top 5 defense, top 6 defense, what I believe is that Bryce is good enough to win those games. He has shown us that. And I didn't get to the away games yet. We play at Cleveland, at Green Bay, at Minnesota, at Pittsburgh, and at Philly. So this schedule is brutal. So we're going to find out pretty damn quick what we've got.
But there's going to be one team that we're favored on paper next year, from what you just said, from where we stand right now.
On these games that I just mentioned? On
the games that you just mentioned. What game is that going to be? The only game that we're going to be favored against is at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right? And that's going to be a close game. We'll be favored, but it'll be by like 1.5, 2 points. right? Because they still have Shedeur Sanders, thankfully. We should be able, but their defense is one of those defenses that we talk about that can dominate and put a lot of pressure on Bryce and create turnovers, right? So in Cleveland, with the dog pound and all the noise that they're going to make, and guys coming off their the all-time sack leader for a season, they're gonna be hunting Bryce Young.
Well, out of all those teams that I mentioned, there's only 3 teams. And again, I'm a fan of Bryce. I think we can win games with Bryce, but there's only 3 teams out of those I just mentioned that I would say we've got the better quarterback.
Minnesota
would be one.
Cleveland,
that would be one,
and
Pittsburgh. Because who knows who their quarterback is.
If Aaron Rodgers back there, he's not better than Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, I think he's
not better than Aaron.
But Aaron's not coming. He's retiring.
If Aaron Rodgers retired, then we'll have to see.
But even if he plays another year, now he's 43. He's a year older. So I would give us the edge in those 3 quarterback-wise. But the other ones, Caleb Williams right now is still playing.
Caleb Williams is becoming –
he's Mr. Fourth Quarter.
Very similar to what the Redskins quarterback last year was able to do before he got hurt, right? We didn't really know a whole lot about Caleb Williams other than he painted his nails and he went to USC and he throws a pretty good ball. I mean, he is becoming one of those guys, a leader of this team, and he has some sort of synergy with his coach.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they've run the ball. I don't know if you've seen their stats. I mean, I've been looking at the ESPN all day today, and in the last 10 games, 8 of those games they've run the ball a lot more efficiently, a lot more effectively versus the last 2 games. Caleb Williams has won the last 2 games because of what he's been able to do in the fourth quarter.
Well, what I think he's got 6 fourth quarter comebacks this year, and not just comebacks, but like dynamic comebacks. And I'll tell you, to me, the biggest thing that's made Caleb Williams take another step this year were 2 things. Number one, Ben Johnson. You're right. I mean, that guy can coach offense with the best of them.
He's a quarterback. He relates to these guys, and for whatever reason, him and Caleb Williams. I mean, they're the same. It's very similar to, when you have a head coach and a quarterback that are just, Andy Reid and most of his quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes. You can go to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, right? I mean, they have that synergy that just you know what they're going to call, what they're going to do before you have to do it. They could really call the plays, and you don't really need them because they see the things, the field the same way you do.
But the thing that I think has made the second biggest thing besides the coach for Caleb, and when they drafted before the Colts, and they took Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, who everybody thought was going to be really good, but Tyler Warren was there, and we all thought Tyler Warren, and he had a hell of a rookie year as well. But Loveland, the addition of him and that weapon to Caleb Williams, and all you had to do is just watch the last game. I think he had 9
number
catches.
1, right?
No,
3-1.
No, he's number 81, I believe. 80.
The tight end for the Bears?
Yeah, for the Bears. And he's unbelievable. And Caleb and him have some type of rapport, and the dude catches everything.
Well, it's the same with Gronk. The same way with.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he added that weapon, and that's kind of what you were talking about. And he's not a diamond in the rough. I mean, I expect him, if he stayed healthy, to be a really good player. But I think that we know the holes on defense, and if we can add a couple dynamic, I think Brooks coming back at running back, if he's healthy, which
number
is
1. He was.
That was when he was the first pick. They give you a jersey with number 1.
Okay.
I think he's 81 or 87.
Okay, go ahead.
But my point is, if we add a couple more dynamic weapons to the offense, we fix the holes on the defense. I think this team has a chance to be a really good team. Now, look, that schedule's brutal. I mean, to win 10 games next year, which is, if we keep climbing the mountain like we have thus far, I think 10's the next hurdle to get to, especially if you want to secure a spot in the playoffs. It's going to be tough, but I feel really good about where we're heading, and I felt even better after listening to Dan Morgan talk. If you look at what he's done so far, I think he's been very good. And so
84 is
84.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot better after hearing Dan talk, and I like the fact that he said next year isn't about building anymore. Next year is about winning. And so you make the playoffs, you have less holes to fill than you've had before. Fill the holes, and let's see what happens. But I feel really good.
You just went through that schedule right now, and I know this is way too early.
It's brutal.
Right? But we haven't seen the draft. We don't know who the free agents.
3 of those teams don't have coaches yet.
3 of those teams don't have coaches yet. There's still a lot to go. But just looking at that schedule and knowing what these teams have coming back. I mean, we won 8 games this year and snuck our way or backdoored our way into the playoffs. We got there, but we got rewarded this schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
What is going to be our record next year?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Vegas is going to have it probably very similar to right on the number.
I would say they would say 7.5. Last year was 6.5. I would say next year.
I would say we would be right at 8.5, because teams are going to. I mean, everything that you're saying, Bryce Young's going to get
in
better.
Our division. The Saints beat us twice already, and they had the number 1 rated rookie class this year. They've got a quarterback in Shuck. Tampa, we split with them, and they were close games. But and then Atlanta, whoever they bring in as head coach, Atlanta,
we beat them twice.
We beat Atlanta twice, but their defense came on really well at the end of the year. We had the 5th ranked rookie class. Atlanta had the 6th. Now they don't. Who's going to be their quarterback? Is Penix Jr. going to be their quarterback? Is Cousins going to be their quarterback? But they've got receivers. They've got some. What I'm saying is our division is still going to be tough. And then when you throw the out conference,
do you understand that our division? Everybody thinks the NFC South was the worst division in football, but collectively they had more wins than like 3 divisions out there. Do you know that? I mean, they all had 8 wins, 7 wins. They all had 8 wins. That's 24
3
wins.
Teams with 8 wins. Yeah.
I mean. Versus the Eagles, the East. I mean, how many did the Cowboys have? How many did the Redskins have?
Giants had 5. I think Redskins had 5.
Right. So when you add up the wins, I mean, the only team that really was the bell cow of that division was who? The Eagles.
And they played the worst football they played in years. So,
right.
It's going to be fascinating, especially with the coaching changes. Philadelphia brings in a guy like Mike McDaniel. Now all of a sudden what their offense is going to look like. The Giants just brought in Harbaugh, which is a great hire for the Giants. And they've got weapons and they've got young talent. Who Atlanta brings in head coach. I mean, they're saying that they're going to bring Kubiak.
And the thing we have, the coach that we haven't talked about yet, and since the last time we've done our podcast, is Tomlin. Tomlin just was released as well. He resigned. He wasn't released.
Yeah.
He stepped down, resigned, from the Steelers. And it'll be interesting to see who their coach is, right? I mean, it sounds from the looks of it, you were spot on with Harbaugh potentially going to the Giants. Sounds like they have a deal in place.
It's just a perfect fit.
It wasn't arguing. I just felt like the Raiders would be better with the number 1 overall pick, bringing in a lot of salary cap space. Being in Vegas, being in that division, that atmosphere, I felt like it would be just as good a fit. But
I think if you rated the coaches before Tomlin resigned, I think Harbaugh was 1, and I think Stefanski was 2. I think Stefanski will go to the Raiders now because I think Tom Brady's going to want to bring in.
Stefanski's the O coordinator.
He was the head coach of Cleveland. He won coaching.
No, I think the head coach that is going to be the hottest for the Raiders now would be the OC for his name's escaping me right now, but he was the OC. He's the OC. He was one of the top prospects anyways, top 5-6 coaches out there. Now, Tomlin, I think he's going to retire or at least sit out for a year, do a little TV.
Well, you got to remember with Tomlin,
you also have to give up.
You're going to have to trade for him.
I'm going to find that.
Yeah, you're going to have to trade for him. So, I don't know any of those teams that's going to, especially these bad teams. I don't know they're going to want to give up draft. Wait a year and then go get them if that's who you want. But I think Stefanski's a perfect fit for the Raiders. 2-time coach of the year.
He's a defensive guy.
No, he's an offensive guy. And
Mike McDaniel.
I mean, look, I think he is going to be a OC this year before getting back in the head coaching position. He's already interviewed, I think, for 4 OCs. He is interviewing for some head coach jobs as well. I don't know if he's Tom Brady's kind of guy. Like the way he dresses and the way he answers questions. I just don't. But Stefanski, I do think is a Brady kind of guy. He's, like I said, he's one. When you win coach of the year 2 out of the last 6 years and you're coaching the damn Browns, that's getting something done. And it isn't his fault that they traded for Watson. He didn't want him. Right. It isn't his fault they drafted Gabriel and Shador. So I think he's a damn good coach. Matter of fact, if the Giants didn't get Harbaugh, I was hoping they got Stefanski. So I think Stefanski would be a perfect guy for the Raiders with the first round pick, which will be Mendoza, unless, and here's the surprise pick that people are talking about, but there's been nothing that ties them to it, unless they do go after Cignetti and say, Cignetti, you want to coach Mendoza again? You will take the package deal. You come to the Raiders, you coach this team, you're going to draft Mendoza first. I don't know if that'll happen. Cignetti could go down in the history books as a legend in Indiana. So I don't know why he would leave. He's 60-something years old, but that is somebody that I could also see them at least having a conversation with. But
Cignetti is not leaving.
I wouldn't think so.
He's not leaving Indiana. I mean, he's a game away from arguably taking a seat right next to, the greatest Hoosier in the history of Indiana, right? Bobby Knight is having a seat right there next to him. They're going to have arms next to each other on that little small Mount Rushmore that they have in that
and they
state.
just gave him a new deal, I want to say, for $90 million. So but my point though is if you are the Raiders and if you are Tom Brady, there's no way you're not at least having a conversation with him.
Of course, you want to have the conversation.
Because if he says I'll do it, you're taking his ass right away, because that dude can, like you said, Google him. All he does is win. So
the question would be, just like it was with Saban, does that transition from what he's doing in college to pros? And the history would tell you, even with Saban, no. So I would obviously, I'm going to look at that a little differently, because I'm going to look at the track records from college coaches coming to the pros and being the same type of guy they were in college, and saying that's not going to work in the NFL.
Let me say something though about Saban. And I saw an interview with him, and he spelled this out, because somebody asked him that same question about why didn't it translate to the pros?
I can tell you why.
Well, here's what he said.
He is going to think one thing. I'm going to tell you, players are going to think the other.
But when he said this, though, it makes sense.
Okay.
He said, when I was with the Dolphins, we had a top 5 or 6 defense every year I was there. He goes, we needed a quarterback. Drew Brees gets cut from the Chargers.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Everybody was worried about his shoulder. We signed him. We had to deal with him, and our doctor would not pass him.
That's right.
And so when our doctor wouldn't pass him, which I went nuts about it.
Yep.
They wouldn't let us sign him.
Right.
The agent called me and said, dude, if you go out on the media and say we're not signing him because of shoulder, no one's going to sign him.
Yep.
So Saban said, I won't do that. We're just not going to sign him. And then the Saints signed him, and we saw what Drew Brees did his career. If Drew Brees would have went there with Saban with the defense they had, and this was Saban's point, they would have been pretty damn good.
But they could have had other players. There was other opportunities for quarterbacks.
Dude, they brought in Dante Culpepper. I mean, they tried. They brought in everybody that you could bring, but
why didn't
getting a quarterback's a bitch.
And why didn't they relate? Why didn't they catch on? Because Dante Culpepper was still a pretty good player.
He was old. He couldn't even run anymore.
So then why are you bringing him in?
But if you got Drew Brees, you're going to tell me, right? Because there was nobody else.
I think Drew Brees and Saban would have clicked for sure.
And that,
right? Because
they
think the same way.
My point is, Saban's NFL career would have looked a lot different if Drew Brees was his quarterback.
The only reason what you're saying would make sense is because if Vegas were to get Cignetti, Mendoza's going there, and they already have the history. So that to me would make sense, is that, hey, listen, I'm going to still be with my coach. I love the way he coaches. I love his philosophy. And we're going to, go like Tom Brady and Belichick, and everybody's going to fall in line with our thinking, right? Yep. And we're going to work hard. We're going to be unselfish. We're going to bring that college environment up to the pros. And if you don't, then you're not going to be here, because this is our standard.
Yep. Well,
right? That would be the only.
I would put the chances of Cignetti going there 5%. But if I'm the Raiders, I at least have the conversation with them. Let's dive into the games this weekend, because we've got some beauties, man. Starting off Saturday at 4:30, you've got the Denver Broncos hosting the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. The Bills are laying 1.5 in Denver, which is surprising, at least to me. Denver, even though they've squeaked by a lot of games, they've got a damn good defense. They're at home. I'm sure you played at Mile High Stadium before, which, from what everybody says, not only is it one of the loudest stadiums, but the just catching your breath.
It's one of the fields that you play at that is worth more than 3 points, right? Because of what you just said. The altitude usually takes a day to get accustomed to it, right? The cold weather on top of that, breathing in cold air at a high elevation makes you feel like you've run 10 miles and your lungs are about to fall out of your chest and explode. You can't breathe, can't catch your chest every time, can't catch your breath every time you cough. It feels like you've run a mile in that cold cough. You're running in cold air. If you know if you know, right? Yeah. But Josh Allen, I feel like he's the best player in the league. He needs some help. He's been close. You have Bo Nix, who is you have a really good coach, and Peyton that's there.
Won a Super Bowl.
They have a week off. I think it's going to be a hell of a game, but I feel like, as we just said earlier to start this show, coaches are going to put players in position. You need the players to go out there and execute. And when it counts, nobody's better than Josh Allen right now in the league, left in the playoffs. He's the guy that you would say, if I needed one drive, I want him as my quarterback.
Yeah. And
I just feel like, it's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. They have a week off. They're going to be rested. But the Bills, I think this is their year. I think they're making it to the Super Bowl.
Well,
and this is another challenge.
You were, I think, 5-3 last week. I was, I think,
2-5
or whatever the hell it was. So I was awful.
2-6 or
I was
3-5.
awful at picking picks. And a couple of the underdogs I took, or road teams I took, killed me. Green Bay being the main one. In this one, the more I look at it, I agree with everything you just said about Josh Allen. Buffalo's been there. They've played in the AFC championships at Kansas City.
They just won a hard-fought game
against Jacksonville. But here's what worries me about this game, because Denver's offense has been pretty anemic. They don't have a great running game, although Harvey has come on throughout the season. They do have some good receivers. Bo Nix can make some big plays with his legs and his arm. But one of the things that scares me a little bit was I feel like this year, and Josh Allen is probably the toughest quarterback in the NFL right now. He takes a beating. And
6'6", 250
he's Cam Newton,
pounds,
right?
Yeah.
Just like Cam did.
Newton with more accurate, better arm.
Yeah. I mean, he delivers some hits, but he also takes them. And against Buffalo, you saw him go to the tent twice, one with the ankle and one like he got his head stepped on or whatever. Denver's defense, and Jacksonville's defense is good, but Denver's defense, top 3 or 4 in the NFL. And they've got 2 defensive ends, Pro Bowlers that are going to get after your ass the whole game. And they've got, 2 damn good cornerbacks. I just wonder in this game, is Josh Allen going to have to carry a lot of the load and just get his ass whooped?
Yes.
And I worry that the
answer
is going to wear down.
He's going to have to do that. And yes, he's going to get worn out. And yes, he's going to have to fight his ass off to go out there and do it. And yes, he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. And yes, he's going to have to, have a Superman performance in order to win this game. But this is what you play for.
Oh, no doubt.
You have all sorts.
And like you said, if I'm putting money on a guy.
You have all of next year to rest. You have all the 3 months to rest your body to get right. Yes, you got to go out there. But
my point of saying that is this. I worry that in this game, he's going to get hurt. Like, I just have a bad feeling that
I know that. I mean, I can't. You can't predict those.
You can't. But I just saw what happened against Jacksonville, and now he's going against a better defense. And
Cam Newton took beatings like this every week when he was in his prime.
He did.
And you know what? And he kept delivering. He kept delivering until it came to the playoffs, and he didn't jump on the damn ball, right? And he didn't jump on the and everybody's going to look at that and say, oh, he kind of wussed out. They're going to forget about the time he carried Atlanta 3 guys on their back and ran through him to get the first down. They're going to forget about the times that
they wouldn't have been there without him. As simple as that.
And jumped over the piles or ran through guys to get the first down. Or the touchdown. Josh Allen is going to make sure, right, that this is what you play for. Well, the playoffs this is it.
And I'm not arguing any of that.
You don't have to be.
I just worry that
healthy next week.
They don't have receivers, and I just
who doesn't have receivers?
Buffalo. I mean, who they got? You really tell me that?
I mean, Josh Allen makes his receivers. I mean, they should score 31 points against the.
They did,
the Jaguars.
And look, Cooks has been a revelation since they picked him up, and Shakir obviously is a solid player. They got 2 solid tight ends. They got a great running back, right?
Josh Allen makes these guys better because he makes the defense play 11 on 11. You can't rush Josh Allen the same way you rush Bryce Young. You can't do it.
Or Matt Stafford. Or somebody in the pocket.
Or any of these other average quarterbacks that are in that division, right? That are statues back there. You can't. This is not a statue. This is somebody where the defense can't just, pick the way to go and hope that they're going to. Josh Allen will make you pay, right? You have to play zone defense. You have to rush in your lanes. You have to 2-gap your guy, and you take away from the pass rush if you're able to do that.
Everything that you're saying, I don't disagree with, but I'm taking Denver, and they scare me. Hell, I watched my New York Giants, who sucked, go up there and blow a 31-point lead in Denver.
You're talking about the Giants.
No, that's my point. So I saw the Giants do that to Denver. So
they were up 31.
I know, but that's my point. Like, I saw the Giants whoop their ass and give up, obviously folded. So there's no reason for me not to think Buffalo could do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm still taking Denver. They have the week off, and I just think their defense is legit. We'll see what happens. Moving on in this game here, that by the way, to me, is the toughest game to pick, was the Denver-Buffalo game. 49ers go to Seattle. 49ers just had a huge upset on the road against Philadelphia. Purdy just continues to play great. McCaffrey is one of the best in the league. We know that.
Seattle's one of the hardest places in the league to play.
And they're laying 7, which I saw a stat. If you take Tom Brady out of teams that have been at home with a bye week, favored by 7 or more, if you take Brady out of it, the teams are like 0-10 or something. So, Seattle having that bye week, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. You were talking about how hard it is to play there. We saw their defense in person here when they just smothered the Panthers. The 49ers banged up. They get no pass rush, where Sam Darnold will usually give you a couple when he's under pressure. The 49ers really don't generate a lot of pressure. And they're laying 7. These teams have played twice this year and split.
Just recently, like 2 weeks ago, I'm coming back from California watching that game.
I think that was 13-3 Seattle.
And San Francisco, I had come out and said, listen, this team is hot right now. They'd beat a lot of good teams. Their offense is clicking. Christian McCaffrey, was a guy that was playing really well and scoring a lot of points. I got to believe that they're going to find a way to get him the ball. But I don't expect this to have I think it's going to be very similar to the last game. A lot of punts, special teams plays. In Seattle, it's going to be loud. 13-3. It was really, a back and forth punt fest. You said that San Fran is not getting to Darnold. Darnold wasn't anything special in that game. They made one more big play, and I kind of feel like that's the way it's going to be. I think San Fran gets, maybe their left tackle back.
He played against Philly. He's playing.
That's going to help. They didn't have him in the last game. Their record with him, but they've lost their tight end.
Yeah, that hurts. No Kittle hurts.
Not having Kittle is probably the biggest loss for any of these offenses, because he was Brock Purdy's security blanket.
Yep.
And Chris McCaffrey is going to have to step up and pick up that load, and they're going to have to find that production somewhere else. I do think Seattle wins the game, but I don't think they're going to cover the 7.
Yeah, this is another tough one, because I think San Fran is as well coached as any team in the NFL. Shanahan can call an offense with anybody, and it doesn't matter who's. Just Mac Jones, we saw win games for him this year. They haven't had Ricky Pearsall, who will be back this week. They just lost their tight end. Whoever it is, he just seems to figure out how to score points. Now, this Seattle defense is a beast, but you know what? If you asked me last week before the games, DJ, who are the best 2 defenses in the playoffs, I'd have told you Seattle and Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's defense is damn good, and they didn't have that hard of a time with them. Now, I know it's in Seattle. It's going to be loud. Everything makes me want to, again, take the 49ers in this with the points because of that. And so I'm going to go off my gut. You said San Fran as well?
I say San Fran plus the points.
So we're both going to take the points there. But,
I thought for sure you were taking Seattle.
I just don't trust Sam Darnold. Like in the playoffs, he's been hot garbage. So he can prove me wrong tomorrow. And by the way, if Sam Darnold plays well in these playoffs, that's probably your Super Bowl champion, because their defense is unbelievable. So
the over and under in this game is 45.5, and I'm thinking if you're really looking to make some money on this game, it's the under 45.5.
Yeah, I would think you're right.
10-3 last time they played. Seattle is going to. Their front four can get after anybody. They're going to put a lot of pressure on San Fran. San Fran's going to have to run the ball. Now that Kittle's gone, that play action is one of those things that you may lose it a little bit. But, they beat McCaffrey up last time they played.
And the other thing that scares me a little bit about taking San Fran is the fact that they played this past Sunday. So they're on short rest. They had to travel to the East Coast, travel back to the West Coast, and then travel up to Seattle. So you got to
San Fran and Seattle's not that far.
Not far, but still you got to think they're going to be a little tired, and Seattle's going to be as fresh as they've been all year after a 2-week bye, so or a bye week. So we both have San Fran there. We'll see what happens.
That game could get out of control, but I do feel like coaching and the Niners are playing with a little chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and Shanahan, like I said, I think he might be the best in the business. Sunday, 3:00. Houston Texans go to New England. New England with a tough game against the Chargers ended up pulling away late. We saw Drake May kind of come down to earth a little bit. The Chargers defense is really good. Now they're taking a step up in defenses, because Houston has probably top 3 defense in the league, without a doubt, top 3 defense in the league. But they lose Nico Collins, by far their best receiver, to a concussion on an offense that was already pretty anemic for the Texans. They're going to New England. It's going to be cold. New England laying 3 points. Now they've got a playoff win under their belt. Drake's got a playoff game under his belt. I'll go first on this one. I wish it was 2.5, but I just see New England. Vrabel's got these boys eating nails, man. And I think even though Houston's defense is going to keep them in the game because their defense is phenomenal, I just think Drake May is going to be able to use his legs. Whereas Aaron Rodgers for Pittsburgh, they couldn't get anything going, but he can't use his legs anymore. Drake is going to run the ball, and I think that he's going to be effective doing that. We saw Stroud with 5 fumbles or something, a couple interceptions.
And threw some bad interceptions to Pittsburgh.
And now
he didn't really utilize his legs. And Drake May, as you point out, can. But you're taking.
I'm going to take New England.
This is my upset of the week. Defense travels.
Yeah,
they travel and they play hard. They're going to play with the chip on the shoulder. CJ Stroud doesn't have to throw the ball all over the place. I know that Drake May even had some, down to earth moments.
Yep.
Made a couple, tried to make a couple of throws that off his back foot in playoffs. That he also doesn't have a great feel, in my opinion, for pocket presence. Depending on how the Texans try to rush, like I said with Josh Allen, unlike you had to do with Aaron Rodgers, you could just kind of let guys freelance and do with a guy that is capable of using his legs. If you two gap play zone defense, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Drake May to make some good plays, and these guys can get home. If it not been for the San Diego Chargers' anemic, offensive line, they could have beaten the Patriots.
Yeah, no question.
Right? I mean, they were so bad offensively, they about killed Herbert. Herbert was sacked 8-9 times in that game, and that was the only saving grace, for the Patriots. The Texans are going to run the football. CJ Stroud has to, be a factor. Can't turn the ball over.
Secure the ball.
Has to be secure at the ball, but his legs have to factor into some of these third down situations, these second and medium situations. He has to play like he is back in college. And this is what it comes down to. You're going to be on the road. Which quarterback, is more effective with their legs, and which defense is more effective, in the playoffs. And that's why I'm taking the Texans, because I think they have the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah. I can't argue that their defense is unbelievable, but And again,
I'm still a believer and defense wins championships.
Yeah.
I'll say that, again and again. It may be the reason why the Denver Broncos win, and it may be the reason why the Texans win, is that the defense still wins championships in playoff football.
Well, it'll be a good game. And then we go to the 6:30 nightcap, which is the Rams, who just snuck by the Panthers, going to Chicago, who just won their game and being down 21-3 to the Packers, and another Caleb Williams comeback. It's going to be wind chill of -4 degrees. It's going to be one of the coldest games in playoff history. You've played in one of the coldest games in Green Bay of playoff history.
Colder than that.
And it was colder than that. Matt Stafford in cold and rain, I think his record is 1-9 in his playoff career. I believe I saw there, or maybe in his career in general, when it's that cold. Rams again traveling back to the West Coast, back to Chicago. The Rams are laying 4. Which is a testament, I believe, to how bad Chicago's defense is and how good the Rams' offense is. So 4 points at Chicago when it's going to be that cold, and those fans were unbelievable this past weekend. I mean, listening to some of the people who played for the Bears back in the day, kind of like Dan Morgan said with the Panther crowd, it was like back in the day, kind of loud. And it was
funny. Our good buddy Hitman, in that game, the tale of two halves.
Yep.
First half, he was cussing out the
fire
Bears, fire everybody. This is the most pathetic thing ever that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm subject to watching this garbage every week. They're terrible. Fire the coach. Caleb Love sucks.
Yeah.
DJ Moore can't catch. This is the worst thing. And then in the second half, something happened where the light came on, especially in the fourth quarter, and they just lit it up. I don't think that's going to be the case against the Rams. I don't think Stafford is the weather's not going to factor into it as much as maybe we think it is. I know he played in Detroit in the Dome. He had a lot of yards throwing the ball all over the place. They still can run the ball. They still can play defense, and they can still get after the quarterback. Caleb Williams was awful in the first 2 quarters last week, and found something, in that fourth quarter. He can escape pressure as well as anybody. But the Rams, their front 4 guys are as fast as anybody in the league. They can hunt guys down from side to side and catch a guy like Caleb Williams. That's what makes them so effective. They're not, these big guys are going to. There are guys that get after the quarterback and can run, and I do feel like they're going to impact this game tremendously and force Caleb Williams into some INTs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know it's going to be cold, and I take all that into account, and Stafford's record and all those things, all those trends, but at the end of the day, Bears defense sucks. And the Rams offense, like you said, if they have to just give their running backs the ball 25 times this game, they'll do it.
They have 2 of the best receivers and a tight end.
They got 3 tight ends and 3 great receivers. So, I agree. I just think at the end of the day,
the Rams are the best team in the NFC, in my opinion. They're the most complete team, even more than the Seahawks, because Sam Darnold, I think the Seahawks defense is better, and I do ultimately think it's going to be the Rams versus the Seahawks, like we saw where the Rams blew the lead to the Seahawks in the fourth quarter with all the mishaps that had to happen with the backwards pass, the 2-point play they got turned over, etc. Or else the Rams win that game. The Rams are the best team in the NFC, and if they go to Seattle, they will win that game. But they have to get past the Bears first, which I do think they will do, and I think they'll do it convincingly.
Well, I'll tell you this: if the Rams get out to a 21-3 lead or a big lead in the first half, Sean McVay is not going to lose that game.
Yeah.
He's not. And Matt LaFleur, and I think he's a good coach, but even with those big leads, I think he threw the ball like 28 times compared to 6 runs. That's not how you hold on to a 21 or a big lead. And McVay's not going to go down that route. I can promise you that. And the Bears have gotten off.
He won't know how to finish a game.
He'll finish the game. The Rams have been there. He's been there. So I'm with you. I'm going to take the Rams -4. That wraps up the NFL playoffs. Monday night, Indiana, Miami in the national championship. Indiana currently laying 8.5 points.
Woo.
We'll be back Monday to talk about that.
That's a little disrespectful.
That's a lot of points. And I've got some good trends on that too. We'll talk about Monday. We'll also recap the playoff games. Enjoy your weekend. It's cold in Charlotte. It's probably cold wherever you're watching, but enjoy the games, enjoy the action. We'll see you Monday.